Unlike the octopus, which is capable only of short flights through the water, the cuttles and squids, such as sepia and loligo, are all free swimmers. For them, it is necessary for accuracy of natation that they're soft, and in the squids, long, bodies should be supported by such a framework as they possess. In sepia, the mantle sac is flattened horizontally all along its lateral edges so as to form a pair of fins, which nearly surround the trunk. These fins could never be used, as they are, to enable the animal to poise itself delicately in the water by means of their beautiful undulations, which I have often watched with delight, if their attached edges were not kept in a straight line on either side. These 10-footed or 10-armed genera do not have, because they do not need them, 8 long, strong, and highly mobile arms like those of the octopus, nor do they have large suckers upon them. Whereas a great length of reach is an advantage to the octopus, animals which are purely swimmers and which hunt and overtake their prey by speed would be impeded by having to drag after them a bundle of stout, lengthy appendages trailing heavily astern. Their 8 petal arms are short and comparatively weak, though strong enough, in individuals such as are regarded on our own coasts as full-grown, to seize and hold a fish or crustacean as strong as a good-sized shore crab. But, as compensation for the shortness of the 8 arms, they are provided with 2 others more than 3 times the length of the short ones. These are so slender that they generally lie coiled up in a spiral cone in 2 pockets, one on each side just below the eye, when the animal is quiescent, and are only seen when it takes its food. These long, slender tentacular arms are expanded at their extremity, and the inner surface of their enlarged part is studded with suckers, some of them larger in size than those on the 8 shorter arms. As the food of these swimmers consists, of course, chiefly of fish, their sucking discs are curiously modified for the better retention of a slippery captive. A horny ring with a sharply serrated edge is embedded in the outer circumference of each of them, and when a vacuum is formed, the keen, saw-like teeth are pressed into the skin or scales of the unfortunate prisoner and deprive it of the slightest chance of escape. The manner in which the 8-armed and 10-armed cephalopods capture their prey is similar in principle and plan, but differs in action in accordance with their mode of life. The ordinary habit of the octopus is either to rest suspended to the side of a rock, to which it clings with the suckers of several of its arms, or to remain lurking in some favorite cranny, its body thrust for protection and concealment well back in the interior of the recess, its bright eyes keenly on the watch, 3 or 4 of its limbs firmly attached to the walls of its hiding place, the others gently waving, gliding, and feeling about in the water, as if to maintain its vigilance and keep itself always on the alert and in readiness to pounce on any unfortunate wayfarer that may pass near its den. To a shore crab that comes within its reach, the slightest contact with one of those lithe arms is fatal. Instantaneously, as the pull of a trigger brings down a bird, or the touch of an electric wire explodes a torpedo or a mining fuse, the pistons of the series of suckers are simultaneously drawn inward, the air is removed from the pneumatic holders, and a vacuum created in each. The crab tries to escape, but in a second is completely pinioned. Not a movement, not a struggle, is possible. Each leg, each claw, is grasped all over by suckers, enfolded in them, stretched out to its fullest extent by them. The back of the carapace is completely covered by the tenacious discs, brought together by the adaptable contractions of the limb and ranged in close order, shoulder to shoulder, touching each other. The pressure of the air is so great that nothing can affect the relaxation of their retentive power but the destruction of the air pump that works them, or the closing of the throttle valve by which they are connected with it. Meanwhile, the abdominal plates of the captive crab are dragged towards the mouth. The black tip of the hard horny beak is seen for a single instant protruding from the circular orifice in the center of the radiation of the arms, and, the next moment, it has crushed through the shell and is buried deep in the flesh of the victim. Unlike the skulking, hiding octopus, its 10-armed relative, the sepia, loves the daylight and the freedom of the upper water. Its predatory acts are not those of a concealed and ambushed brigand lying in wait behind a rock or peeping furtively from within the gloomy shadow of a cave, but it may better be compared to the warlike Comanche vidette, seated gracefully on his horse and scanning from some elevated knoll a wide expanse of prairie. in readiness to swoop upon a weak or unarmed foe. Poised near the surface of the water, like a hawk in the air, the sepia moves gently to and fro by graceful undulations of its lateral fins, an exquisite play of color occasionally taking place over its beautifully barred and mottled back. When thus tranquil, its 8-petal arms are usually brought close together and droop in front of its head, like the trunk of an elephant, shortened, its 2 longer tentacular arms being coiled up within their pouches and unseen. Only when some small fish approaches does it arouse itself. Then, its eyes dilate, and its colors become more bright and vivid. It carefully takes aim, advancing or retreating to such a distance as will just allow the 2 hidden tentacles to reach the quarry when they shall be shot out. Next, the 2 highest or central feet are lifted up, and the 3 others on each side are spread aside, so that they may be all out of the way of the 2 concealed tentacles, presently to be launched forth. Then, in a moment, so instantaneously that the eye of an observer, be he ever so watchful, can hardly see the act, this pair of tentacles, side by side, are projected and withdrawn as if in a flash. The fish or shrimp has vanished, the suckers of the dilated ends of the tentacles having adhered to it and left it, as they re-entered their pouches, within the fatal cuddle or embrace, where it is torn to pieces by the devouring beak. This action of the tentacles of the decapods is the most rapid motion that I know of in the whole animal kingdom, not excepting even that of the tongue of the toad and the lizard. These long tentacles are not used when the food is within reach of the shorter arms. The calamaries, or squids, of our British seas seize their prey in the same manner as sepia, and the description of one will suffice for both. But there exist 2 groups of them which are armed with curved and sharp-pointed hooks or claws, either in addition to, or instead of, suckers. In the one group, Onychoteuthis, the hooks are restricted to the extremities of the pair of tentacles. In the other, Inoploteuthis, both the tentacles and the shorter arms have hooks. Professor Owen, in his description of these hook-armed calamaries in the Cyclopedia of Anatomy, notices also another structure which adds greatly to their prehensile power. At the extremity of the long tentacles, a cluster of small, simple, unarmed suckers may be observed at the base of the expanded part. When these latter suckers are applied to one another, the tentacles are securely locked together at that part, and the united strength of both the elongated peduncles can be applied to drag towards the mouth any resisting object which has been grappled by the terminal hooks. There is no mechanical contrivance which surpasses this structure. Art has remotely imitated it in the fabrication of the obstetrical forceps, in which either blade can be used separately or, by the interlocking of a temporary blade, be made to act in combination. The cephalopods obtain and eat their food very much like the rapacious birds. They are the falcons of the sea. Some of them, like Onychoteuthis, strike their prey with talons and suckers also. Others lay hold of it with suckers alone. But they all tear the flesh with their beaks and swallow and digest their food in the same manner as the hawk or vulture. The sepia, the owner of the broad, flattened bone, has a decided predilection for the vicinity of the shore and for comparatively shallow water. It there attaches its grape-like eggs to some convenient stone or growing alga, and delights occasionally to sink to the bottom and there to rest half covered by the sand, a habit for which the form of its body is well adapted. But the calamaries, those of the horny pen, prefer the wide waters of the open ocean. And although they too, especially the smaller species, are common upon the coasts, they are frequently met with far out at sea and away from any land. The elongated and almost arrow-like shape of their bodies enables them to glide through the water with great rapidity, and the momentum exerted by a vigorous outrush from their siphon tube is sometimes so great that, when the opposite pressure thus produced is so exerted as to cause them to take an upward direction, they leap out of the water to so great a height as to fall on the decks of ships, and are, therefore, called by sailors flying squids. Their spawn is very different from that of either octopus or sepia. It consists of dozens of semi-transparent, gelatinous, slender, cylindrical sheaths, about 4 or 5 inches long, each containing many ova embedded in it, making a total number of about 40,000 embryos, all springing from a common center and resembling a mop without a handle. I have never seen any of these sea mops attached to anything, and the pelagic habits of the calamaris render it probable that they are left floating on the surface of the sea. Having made ourselves acquainted with the structure and habits of these three divisions of the 8-footed and 10-footed mollusks, let us take evidence as to the size to which they are respectively known to attain and the degree in which they may be regarded as dangerous to man.